Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast. I'm your host Faith-Chirima and here's my mom. Today we'll be talking about infertility, God's case, no appeal, insights into challenges that ladies without children face. How do you feel about today's discussion?
Okay, hello everyone. I feel that it's something that has been on my mind for a while, and I know it's a reality for many women out there. People who may not be able to mother anybody, maybe not by choice most of the times, but because of things that are beyond some women's control. So,
True.
this is like women without children. We will be talking, I think, about how they are perceived, how they are treated, especially within the more traditional family setups.
All right. So let's talk about personal experiences. Do you think that women can be comfortable sharing their personal journey with infertility?
Yeah, most of them, they feel very much comfortable as a way of healing, as a way to, maybe we can say it's therapeutic for them to openly talk about things that they have come to acknowledge that this is my fate. There is no way around it. Also, they talk about it, opening up to get advice and counsel, to get comfort, always to think, oh, maybe you will meet someone who say, I also struggled maybe 5, 10 years with infertility, and finally I managed to get pregnant maybe through 1, 2, 3 ways. Through that way you can be mightily helped to hear, to know that there are actually options to consider, especially if you can't bear children. Then we have, like, in most Christian groups, church groups, where we have those that cannot bear children for one reason or another. They create a platform like WhatsApp groups, like, meeting somewhere where they can air their experiences, their pains with the other women with the similar, especially problems and challenges. So I think that's what I can say, because these women don't know what it is to carry pregnancy to full term, even if it is maybe to some months, especially, and maybe get a miscarriage. They don't know the labor pains. They've never experienced some breastfeeding. They've never raised somebody or reprimanded somebody. No, don't do that, my child. It's not supposed to be that way. So some have been married for 10, 20, 30 years, and they have hope against hope that one day God will answer their prayers. So if you see any mother or any woman looking for a fruit of the womb, pity them. It's not quite easy. Society expects a lot. When you get married or even don't get married, there are certain ages where people begin asking you questions that you do not have answers to. When are you going to get married and have children? You think you came here just to be a makoti, just to eat food and all that. You were married even to increase our family, because people believe children are a heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. That's what the Bible says. So I always associate, like, infertility with some form of cases, because God never created somebody to suffer such depths of, something that is expected of you, but still you can't do anything about it.
So true. How do you think that infertility experiences influences one's sense of self and self-worth?
I think it is everything to do with one's self-worth. Because as a woman, you are born and you develop, like, your adolescence, whatever features to show that you are now with hips, maybe you have breasts, but still at the end of it all, there comes still such biological processes as is expected of any woman for you to be able to get pregnant, even with or without marriage, and still have your own children. So sometimes you can see, if you don't live up to such stages, sometimes you are frowned down upon, looked down upon. A lot is said about you. You are judged by people who might not know that they are actually worsening whatever you are going through. So sometimes your self-worth is at stake. Some have been divorced for things like those beyond your control. Some have been evil or even labeled witches. People thinking that you are eating your own whatever, your embryos and that. So sometimes you see that it's difficult, especially even at family gatherings, especially where people are gathered. Sometimes I have one friend whom I always tell you about, that when she sees you guys, we are the same age, she always wish had she been able to been blessed to have like a baby. Her babies or children will be like, more or less like your ages. So there are some reminders that trigger your case to say, I am barren after all. When you look at your age mates, they have children, When you look at some families, very happy with children around, and then you think, what will become of me? And people have always associated old age as an age where if you are able to bear children, your children will eventually look after you. Then people start to question you with that in mind. So as you grow old, who will look after you? Who will take care of you? So it's quite something that is humanly impossible to think about. With these women, they wet their pillows at night thinking what? Behind closed doors, they are always pathetic. They try to especially come to terms with their situation, but they can't have their questions answered.
Let's dive into emotional and psychological aspects. What emotions do you think are felt throughout the quest to have a child journeys, and how are such experiences managed by them?
I always go back to traditional families to say people start to question, people start to nag. When are you going to have kids? You are not getting any younger yourself. And especially maybe during holidays, during family events, it's like your life is incomplete until you give birth to someone. So there are always some assumptions as well that maybe as a woman, you can only be fulfilled as a woman if you have someone to call you a mom. So it will be like you are missing the true definition of life, because as a woman, you must undergo motherhood. They will say something like, even if you reprimand a naughty child, people say you will only understand if you had children, something like that. So it will always, even if you want to send someone to some shops, there are people, relatives, who actually say, why can't you just give birth to your own child and do whatever you want with the child? Sometimes it's the judgment, it's not just the questions, it's just the judgment. People look at you as selfish, as career obsessed, as someone who can't even think that there's something wrong with you if you can't get your own children. So that is sometimes you get exclusions where there are talks or chats within people, among people, in any community, where sometimes you feel excluded, especially by your age mates, about parenting. When people start to talk about parenting, naughty children, or being whatever, so you start being treated differently even by people who should be supporting you 100%. You can feel like you are an outsider just looking on at people talking about your children, talking about homework, talking about what, and you have nothing actually to contribute to that. Sometimes people just look at you and give unsolicited advice. You don't ask about it, even if you have made it clear that maybe you want to pursue your career. You don't want children at all. People still give you advice about how to get pregnant and how to change your mind. So there's a lot actually that might happen, because people always be people. Yeah.
So true. How do those looking for the fruit of the womb navigate societal expectations around motherhood?
I think normally they explore the root cause of such. Some will become more like go the spiritual route. Maybe I am cursed. Maybe I'm not prayerful enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this and that. Have you ever seen even a traditional, a way of keeping this in long back. I don't know if it's still applicable as I speak to you, where we have like if your father was not my like what can I say, was not able to bear children, then his young brothers will do the job for him, so that at least they cover for those mistakes. That can bring promiscuity on the part of that wife, because you change so many men, brothers, just for you to bear children on behalf of somebody. So sometimes it's quite difficult, it's challenging. Normally it's those feelings of inadequacy, isolation, feelings of guilt, frustration and anger as to what is normal to you is just abnormal. So at the end, I think it's a sensitive topic, but I think the more we can talk about it and open up about things that we presumably know. I'm not an expert, I'm not a fertility coach or something like that, but I've seen people close to me going through the worst, some achieving something, after much prayer, after like doctors, medication and all that, but some tried all that with all their monies. And the worst thing, Faith, is that most of the time we have seen people aborting children, yet there are some desperately looking for children. So life is just like that.
In terms of medical and biological perspectives, can you share some common medical challenges that can lead to infertility?
I think most of the women, most of people who really complain about, infertility issues are those who have always had menstrual irregularities or things like that, and people may be overweight, family planning also. Most of them, sometimes people claim, though I say that I'm not an expert in these things, but we have heard like on the medical side, people trying to, sometimes you don't want a child for 5-10 years, then you take in some medication or family planning pills, but at the end of it all, then you can't bear children. So it's to do with the diet, we mentioned that, to do with the medical problems, to do with the biological processes, to deal with the exercising. People think that sometimes a healthy body is well prepared to carry a child, compared to people who are just obese, and sitting at home and doing nothing, eating whatever they want to eat. Sometimes you have to be very careful, especially that you are not even too stressed. Stress alone can add to your inability to bear children, because the more you think about things that you have no solution to, normally your body also reacts to that. So I think there is so many things to talk about, but the best thing is to have your gynae examining. Is it about your fallopian tubes? Most people had fallopian tubes worked on and your ovaries worked on. Some even have had their hormones corrected, because hormonal imbalance also plays a role. I don't want to talk about cases where people think, I think someone closed your womb at your wedding, but we have had such cases where people cannot bear children after marriage because people do something to them, but that's a topic for another day.
How do different cultures perceive infertility and barren women, or what have you observed about how different cultures view infertility and barren women?
Okay, I think we can say that, most like civilized family setups, modern family setups, they know some things were never meant to be and accept that. Then there are very traditional family setups, those ones that will nag you to have children even if you know that you can't. So I think now it narrows down to people around you. How open-minded are they? Some will welcome things as they are. So I don't want to say black people don't understand all this or white people understand that, but normally it's about that there are some races who are open to people even choosing as a couple to say that no, we just want to be the two of us, no children. But if it's to happen to most black families, then hey, it will be something else. Yeah.
So
Also, I think when we talked about, what causes infertility or increases the chances of infertility, I think we forgot about age. Yeah, sometimes you can't just, be a career-oriented person, then around 40, 50 years from nowhere you want to conceive and be a child. So age, sometimes it doesn't matter, but to a large extent I've observed that from 35 upwards, your chances of getting pregnant are actually decreased.
Yeah, true. What types of, in terms of support systems, what types of support have made a difference for women during this journey of infertility?
The best thing any woman looking for a fruit of the womb must get is unconditional support from the husband first or boyfriend first, and those around them, the siblings, the extended family members. It will not be the time to judge people. Some people say you've been aborting too much when you were a girl and when you were still at school. It's not like that. And the other option is surrogacy, but it's not so much very popular in some cultures, whereby I can choose someone to carry whatever that lead to baby formation on my behalf. Quite expensive. That's why maybe people don't want to consider that as a choice or a solution. We can have some medications prescribed for us. If it's anything to be operated on, then you can be open to that. We have had pastors praying for mothers who are looking for the fruit of the womb, and the success rate is very high. Your prayers, your fastings, your faith that the same God who created me and gave me a husband and a marriage will definitely work out something called the fruit of the womb for me. We have had intrauterine insemination, your IVF, your it's called the in vitro whatever fertilization, where these are costly procedures, but where money allows, then if you have your money and the adequate resources, you can look into such platforms for you to bear children.
What advice would you give to friends and family on how to support someone facing infertility?
So I think, because as I said, it's sensitive and all that, I think it's always to do with being empathetic.
True.
As I said when we started, that if you see a woman looking for a fruit of the womb, just have mercy. They are going through a lot. So I think it's good for you to understand that if they set boundaries, maybe to say, I don't want to attend family functions because I may be the only one without even a child, following me on my back or breastfeeding someone. So you have to understand. If they want to feel isolated, give them the alone time to go through whatever they are going through. If they share something with you, it's not an opportunity for you to even tell the next person, you see, she's dying of stress because she doesn't have a child. And the best thing is for them, even these mothers, to find support systems for people with similar problems, to connect with other women that cannot bear children, and they must focus on their own happiness. Because if some things in life can't work, you can't force. You have to accept that this is me, this is who I am. I was never created to be like Faith, to have 4 children or something like that. Accept your fate. Sometimes you see that at the time you least expect, then something happens that can bring a child. So I think even it's the other things, to change the narrative, to speak up, where you are judged. There are some people who are always happy about causing chaos and disorder in people's lives when people are going through the worst. And also I think they need education. To be educated, especially to know that if you can share the articles or videos of even, success stories of people who were never able to bear children before, but one day, their prayers were answered and they had children, and never to give up. Giving up is not a choice, because sometimes God has a way, I'm not being too spiritual, but I know that when we least expect some things, then God, because of our faith, we continue hope against hope that God will do it for us. And for sure God doesn't disappoint. So if you want to go the prayerful route, if you want to go there are also traditional medicines that have always corrected some biological processes, and people have been able to bear children. Some people, it's not a matter of I can't bear children, then I take my young sister or my brother's daughter to bear children for my husband. That one I don't want to talk about it, because it's something else. Actually, I think these women who cannot bear children, they must be supported 100%. Whatever way that can work, people must just, try to assist and see how it goes.
What is your take on alternatives to conceptions such as adoption or surrogacy? How do you feel about those options?
Those ones now, that's where I said it needs much education, because of the societies and cultures and backgrounds that define us, where we grew up, and even the environment that we will be at that moment. I know of so many ladies who have now tried to go that route, to say that someone can carry the baby for me. And I'm following someone, I think she is Nigerian or something, who managed to do that recently, and the child looks exactly like the children that she carried herself. So I'm saying I'm laying a lot as well. So the IVF, I think is the chances, though you might go through those processes, IVF, and still it cannot be successful. So I've also known another celebrity tried that. It didn't work out even 5 times, and your body in the process becomes too tired, even with all the medical processes and procedures. So I think we must all, now that we live in a fast-paced life, where we know a lot because of technology and the internet, I think we must open our minds to such type of, alternatives to fertility.
How can we better raise awareness about the experiences of women who can't bear children?
It's just to be there for them when they need us. If we can assist them with prayers, if we can assist them with maybe reminding them that they matter, they must give their bodies, their lifestyle and all that. If we have financial resources to channel into like IVF and all that, I think we can support that, even to open the eyes of those that are around them, that it's not a case, there's nothing wrong with a person without a child. So education, enlightenment, emancipation is all that we need to continuously do, never judging them, never looking down upon them, never adding to their sorrows.
So my last question for this discussion today: how do you hope the conversation around infertility will change in the future?
In the future, I see lots of alternatives, people opening up to modern ways of conception without being judged, because it will be the order of the day. I think there will be more children going, or more being born, especially through surrogacy, especially through IVF, especially through being prayed for, especially through the use of herbs. If there is nothing wrong using herbs for conception, if ever they are not used maybe to harm somebody. So people must be open-minded. I continue to say whatever seems to be working, as long as it is not to endanger someone's life, just give it a try. Maybe one day it will work together for your good.
All right, so as we end up this discussion, what do you want to end with saying for people watching today?
For people watching today, to say that maybe it's a quest to hear from them. What do they think about this topic? Maybe they've never experienced infertility, but there's someone close to them that is right now or before it experienced that. How did they manage to cope? How did they manage especially to find closure? Or if it finally happened that they conceived, how did they conceive and how are they feeling especially? Yeah, just to try to solicit some responses from the listeners, the viewers, to say this is a very sensitive topic, it's educative, it's informative, but we want also their take to say what do they think about that.
All right. If you guys have any stories about your infertility journey, please comment down below. We want to hear from you, and we shall see you guys in another video. Bye.
Bye.